all my life. Been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice. That's why all my life I've been grinding all my life. All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. All my life I've been grinding all my life. Hey, good evening, everybody. What's going on? Welcome to the Winner Circles podcast, episode 1. This has been episode 1. I just like to give everybody a brief synopsis and introduction of what this platform is going to be about moving forward. One thing I've felt and one thing that's been on my heart is we don't celebrate the winners that surround us enough. You know, obviously celebrities get their just due. Obviously the famous people and the athletes and the LeBron James, you know, we always give them their credit. But there's many heroes that we see every day that deserve our celebration and our applause. And, you know, that's something that I'm going to be doing moving forward with my own personal platform, as well as inspiration, things like talking about mental health and overall investing in people. I think if you make sure other people are all right, you'll be all right. So that's where we're going moving forward. In episode 1, I got a good friend of mine, Philip Murray, really great guy, someone that inspires me and I look up to, and I respect everything that he does on a day-to-day basis. Just a quick brief intro on him, because we're going to let him do most of the talking today. Some of the bullet points. Philip Murray, primarily from the Beaufort, South Carolina area, Hilton Head, Bluffton area. 17 McDonald's franchises owned. He is an avid philanthropist and supporter of many organizations. Some of them are the Ronald McDonald House, Toys for Tots, the United Way, Help of Beaufort, Habitat for Humanity, Navy Marine Corps Relief Society, the American Cancer Society, and American Red Cross. And those don't even name the hundreds of personal giveaways that he does to friends and families in need. So, hey, Phil, man, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate it, and I'm very honored that you wanted me to be a part of this. I'm very honored. So thank you so much for that.
Yeah. So let's start from the bottom. Talk about your upbringing a little bit.
All right. So I was born, I actually wasn't born in Beaufort. So I was born maybe 45 minutes away from Beaufort. It's a little place you probably never heard of it, called Early Branch. And so I was born and raised in a small town called Early Branch. I went to high school and graduated from Wayhampton High. Mm-hmm. My biological parents, I love them with all of my heart, mind, and soul. But you know that I am adopted as well. And so my adoptive parents are the reason why we have the 17 McDonald's restaurants. But so graduated from Wayhampton High School. I went to University of South Carolina in Columbia. I majored in business administration and have a minor in small business entrepreneurship and political science. I was working in Columbia at as one of the little managers at a place called Altel, which is a cell phone company. And I didn't want anything to do with McDonald's. I didn't want anything to do with the business at all, like nothing at all, especially with the degree, you know. But after much convincing, I came back and I started working at the our Paris Island location. And I hated it with a passion. I really hated it with a passion. But over time, I got to meet a lot of people, became friends with them, and decided doing some work on Paris Island and the air station. And the more I got acquainted with the Marines on the Paris Island, the air station, and started doing a lot of work to give back, the more I became more comfortable with it. And, you know, I started to like it a little bit more. And so, and so here I am. So we started from 4, you know, we're at 17. So So yeah, so that's my story in a nutshell.
So going back to working at McDonald's.
Okay.
What position did you enter in at?
Okay, so he entered me in as like you would think, okay, oh, this is the owner's son, so
Right,
hey,
right,
you
right.
gotta get a big position. No, I started off as a swing manager with no experience. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to make a freaking cheeseburger. Okay. So he started me off as a swing manager. So I tell people all the time, I just had the title and a shirt, but I had no knowledge of it whatsoever.
Mm.
And so I started from the bottom. Well, not literally the bottom, but I started from a swing manager knowing nothing. And I had crew people teaching me what to do. Can you
Oh
believe
wow.
that? So yeah, so he started me from, just from management. And from there, he wanted me to learn every facet of the job. I had to learn the ins and outs, but I had to learn the inside of the job first. And so I did that. And then I took over as the general manager for that location. And then we opened up a store in Buckwalter. And I went there to open up that location, came back to Paris Island. I went to Ladies Island, and we did some work at the Super Center and Walmart. And, we had the McDonald's there, and I became the general manager over that location. And then I just started bouncing around from there, that, wherever my services were needed. And from there, it just kind of trickled down to, okay, now you need to start taking your classes in Chicago at Hamburger University to get your credentials. And so I started attending the classes that I needed to attend. And after that, came back and decided using what I've been taught. And I always knew that we were going to expand. I
Mm-hmm.
just didn't know that we was going to expand so quickly in a
Mm-hmm.
in a short span of time. And so I had to put on my big boy pants and start doing some negotiations, and whatever I saw, whatever was necessary for me to do, I had to do it. And so I started doing that. And then in the midst of us, gaining stores, my mom, she was diagnosed with cancer. She had one of the most severe forms of skin cancer. And and so that kind of, gave us all a setback, so to speak. And my dad wanted to semi-retire after, she beat cancer and so forth and so on. And so that catapulted me into a more prominent role within our company. And from there, I just knew that I wanted it to expand. I wanted to build on the legacy that, we already had.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so that's how that 4 became 10, and then that 10 became 17.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. So let's hit this. Where did the um, supporting of organizations begin? Because obviously gaining financial stability and wealth is one thing, and no one that gets money is obligated to give it away. You know,
Right.
that's one of those things where it's nice when it happens, but no one's obligated. So where did that begin for you?
I would say as a child, my grandfather, he was anyone who knows me, they know that my grandfather meant the entire world to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I always thought that he was the humanitarian that I wanted to be. He was the philanthropist that I wanted to be, that I wanted to emulate in every facet of his life, every facet of his being. I wanted to be that man. And I watched him give tirelessly to people, and it was just like it was a part of him. It was innate to him. It was like second nature for him just to give and not look for anything in return. And that's one thing that he made sure that he instilled in me is when you help people, like you help people just to help them. You help them
Mm-hmm.
to see them to 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 make them better, to help them along the way, to give them a helping hand. You help them because you have a lot or a little, you
Right.
still help, because no matter how little you have and no matter how much you have, you know, there's someone who's always in need, and there's someone who always can use some type of blessing from you, you know. And so he taught me especially that when you do those things, you do it from your heart for one, and you do it like you do it being happy about doing it. You do it being happy about giving to people and not expecting anything in return. And those words and those actions that I saw him portray, that stuck with me. And I knew I wanted to build on that. And so that's why, my mom and my dad, they do the same. They're givers in
Mm-hmm.
every possible way. But I would have to say that the giving spirit came prominently from my grandfather, because he was, like I said before, he was the ultimate humanitarian. He was the ultimate giver. I mean, he loved people, people loved him, and they knew that, hey, he was, if he had it, he was gonna give it. He would give you the shirt off his back. And I'm not like that always. Okay, let me put that out there. I'm not like that always, but for the most part, uh I try to emulate that. Let me say
Mm-hmm.
that. I try to emulate that the best way that I can. And sometimes you get burned by it, and that's, you know, the the positive and negative about being a giver and being a person with a good heart is that sometimes people take advantage of that, and without you knowing, they
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
And so, it sucks. It makes you pissed. You
Mm-hmm.
want to slap somebody, but you have to, you just have to take the good with the bad and just, roll with the punches and keep it moving. And so, I learned, how to, kind of control my impulse giving, because sometimes, like, I would give a lot,
For
a
sure.
lot, a lot, a lot, and I think about, just not just thinking, because I'm like an emotional person. And so sometimes I give based off of emotions,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that can be a really bad thing, because people can feed you a sad story and you will buy into it. And before you know it, you'll give them your millions of dollars and you bankrupt. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
But so it comes with discipline. But yeah, my granddad, he taught me all that. So shout out to him.
So I just to hit on the unselfishness, I just think that's an exceptional thing because the normal order of things is when we have a little come up, or when we start to get a little bit more stable, we want to um, gift ourselves. So
Absolutely.
um, talk about the unselfishness a little bit and why for you personally, why isn't the fancy cars and the big house necessarily a priority for you?
So let me share let me share something. So, like, if people who know me, if they knew my father being a multimillionaire, right? If
Mm-hmm.
they knew who he was and they passed him in the street, they would think he was just a bum, you
Yeah.
know. And something that my dad taught me, and I got to go back. I will always make reference to my grandfather. Something that they taught me was, you don't have to look like you own $1 million or
Mm-hmm.
you have $1 million. You don't have to look the part at all. It's not the car that makes the person. It's not the fancy house that makes the person. It's not, it's not even what you have in a banking account that makes the person. It's the person's heart. A person can be a millionaire, a multi gazillionaire, and they don't have to showcase that to the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not that person. Can I do it? Of course I can. If I wanted to flex on 1,000 people, I could do that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not who I am. It's not what gets me off. It's, I love nice things. Don't get me wrong. I love nice clothing. I love the nice cars. I love this and that, and I can afford to get those things if I want it.
Right.
But I don't. I choose to do for others more than I do for myself, and that's biblical for one. And
Mm-hmm.
then for two, it's just the way that I've been brought up. I don't have to flaunt anything to
Mm-hmm.
prove to you that I have it. I
Right.
know I have it. I know I have it, you know, and I'm confident in knowing that I know that I have it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm not out here trying to prove myself to anybody at all. I live my life the way I live my life, whether you like it or not. Um, I, I live my life, I want to say modestly. And I say that very loosely because, you know, there are certain things that I, you know, will indulge, you know, like I will splurge on. But when it comes to, you know, I want, as long as I'm comfortable and I'm happy, I'm good with that.
That's good.
I'm
That's good.
I'm totally good with it. Even my parents, you know, they kept telling me, you need to celebrate your success, do something really big for yourself. And I wanted to do something really big for myself, and I did. Those of you know that know me, they know that I take many vacations almost every freaking month. You know, so I gift myself that.
Mm-hmm.
But to do something very lavish, it's not really me. So I don't do it. So I would rather change someone else's life, give someone else some type of glimpse of hope, or make someone else smile and be happy, opposed to like gifting myself. I have it, so why not share that wealth with someone else? And I think that when God gives us a lot, then he doesn't give us a lot to be selfish and keep it to ourselves, but he gives us a lot to give it out to others and to help other people. Because we all, at any given moment, who knows, I can be bankrupt, I can go bankrupt at any given moment.
Right.
you know and I, the same handout, or not even handout, but the same love and kindness that I showed to someone else, to people, I would expect that same love and kindness and that generosity to be shown back to me in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what I know, what I want to receive, I try to give that, and I try to go above and beyond that.
No, that's big, and I 100% agree. I think that some of us are chosen. I think that investing in people is not necessarily for everybody, but I do think some of us are chosen, and whether that's through your story, your triumphs, whether that's
Yeah.
through um, being inspirational, being a mentor for people or things like that, or whether that's through uh, being very, very giving and um, supporting of others financially or through whatever means that you can. So I definitely agree with that. Um, would you say your religious background also has a huge um, foundation in who you are and how you go about your business?
Oh, absolutely. That is the DNA makeup of who I am.
Okay.
And if anyone knows any part of my biological family, they know that they're very, very, very religious. And so, growing up as in a religious household, you know, um, the Bible was very prominent, and the Bible was key. I didn't follow everything that the Bible says. Okay, I didn't follow everything the Bible says, but for the most part, I tried to uphold and upkeep that, and I tried to live and emulate my life living in a way that God will be pleased.
Right.
And you can look throughout the Bible, and you saw where God was not selfish at all, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and he fed the needy, he fed the poor, he fed the hungry. And I think that's what our purpose is. And it's not for us to feed the hungry, feed the poor, help out people, and make a big deal about it to let it be broadcasted and known.
Right.
Because people do that. I know a lot of people who call themselves humanitarians, and they love to give to people, and they love to do that, but they love to do it to be seen. And to me, I think that's the wrong reason.
Yeah.
I think that if you're gonna give to someone, or if you're gonna be a blessing to someone, then it doesn't always have to be seen. It doesn't always have to be broadcasted. You do it from your heart, and then that's it. Period. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to like have a big sign on your back that says, "Hey, I'm giving $40,000 to this person because they were homeless or whatever." No, you don't have to always do that. And a lot of times that you look throughout the Bible, and you see that God did that, and He instructed us to do the same. And He even said, if you feed the little child, guess what? You've done the same one to me. And so I try to emulate that, my biblical upkeeping or upbringing. I try to incorporate that in my life living today. And so to dismiss that, I couldn't, because that's a part of who I am.
I like it. I like it. So going into your beginning of giving, what's the first organization that you supported, if you can remember?
The first organization that I supported was on Paris Island. It was Operation Homefront.
Okay.
And I was working at a Paris Island. I was working at our Paris Island location, and I think it was MCCS. They came and they wanted us to be a part of it. And during that time, we had never really, been active on the military base. But I was like, you know what, this is something that we could do. And so I went there and I sat with them. We talked it over, and we partnered with MCCS with Operation Homefront, and I think that was doing. It was so long ago, but it was during Christmas time where they gave back to military families. And I remember I went to Paris Island, and we had toys for the kids, and we was handing out gift cards and also all sorts of things. And I wanted it to continue. And I knew I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to continue to do that because I had a really good time doing it. And when initially going in, I was very scared and very reluctant to do it. But when I did it, I just felt like, okay, wait, this may be my niche right here. This may be it. And so I just started doing it more and more and more. And then we did the Toys for Tots. And then after that, I remember I would look out and I would say, like, what organization can we help? Like, what can we do to, not only to make our name known, that people know, hey, they will help you if you're in need, blah, 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 blah. But I wanted to do it because it made me feel really good doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds so cliche, and it sounds like, oh my God, he's living in a fairy tale fantasy or something. But it's the honest truth. Like, I did it because I wanted to do it. And I watched, like, some of my family members, like even my family, for Thanksgiving and for Christmas, we hold a community feast that we feed the entire Beaufort County. We feed the entire community of Beaufort County. We give out bicycles and clothing and toys. This is something that my immediate family does. And I wanted to incorporate that in not my personal life only, but in my professional life. And
Right.
I think that I've succeeded in doing that. So yeah, so Operation Homefront was my first. Yeah, that was the first time when that was the first partner that we joined up with.
So something I think that's also interesting, obviously being in a military town, the military is there. You can't ignore it. You can't avoid it. But just due to that, not everybody supports the military, even with that being said. So where did your strong support of the military come from?
Okay, so we're gonna be honest on this on this podcast.
Yeah.
Okay?
Speak the real talk. Real talk.
All right, so if we're gonna be completely honest, everybody look at me now, and 90% of my friends are Marines, right? But that's not how it started.
Okay.
I hated I hated being around Marines because my initial perception of Marines were they were obnoxious. They were like just rude, blatantly rude, and we just couldn't find that. That common ground. And so I did not want to, especially being at the Paris Island location, I really didn't want to do it. And so one day we did that when we did the Operation Homefront. I met a lot of families. I met a lot of wives and husbands and a lot of the DIs. And I started, they was like, oh, we remember you from being at the Paris Island location. And I was like, yeah, da, 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 da. And so we started talking. And then, the more they would see me on base, handing out gift cards or handing out free meal cards, the more I became acquainted with a lot more of them. And so that acquaintance led me to befriend a lot of Marines, and I started talking to a lot of Marines, and I just became friends with them. And then I started learning the ins and outs. And my initial perception on what I thought Marines were and
Mm-hmm.
how they were, it completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
And as being a former DI on Paris Island, that that's a whole world in
Yeah.
itself,
Yeah, it is.
And so as a civilian being introduced to this whole new world on Paris Island, it was like enlightening for me. And then now becoming friends with, people in the first battalion, the second battalion, and third battalion, and fourth battalion, and at weapons, and so forth and so on. And then transitioning over to the air station and becoming friends with these people, I started to learn I started to pick up the lingo, and I started to just to the more I learned about the Marine Corps and the people and
Mm-hmm.
became friends with them, then the more my heart was like, okay, I think there's more we can do for these people, because you would think that people who risk their lives on a daily
Mm-hmm.
and who work tirelessly on a daily, would be more appreciative from civilians,
Mm-hmm.
and, just from the government, as far as pay is concerned. And I don't think that a lot of Marines, I don't think that Marines in general, or the military in general, gets paid enough. Uh, that's my take. I don't think that they get enough recognition for the things that they do, that people see them do, or the things that people don't see them do.
Right.
And I knew that was something that I just wanted to change. And I know I may not be able to change that globally, but I
Right.
can change it. I can change it, as it relates to my community. I can
Exactly.
change it as it relates to my businesses. And so, yeah, so every one of my businesses, we support our military. Um, in my personal life, do I support the military? 100%. I support them, and so I wanted to, um, even I knew I wanted to incorporate that in my professional world. And what we did was, sometimes we would go out, and I would gather a group of my people from my stores. Excuse me, a group of my employees from my stores, and I would say, what, today we're gonna volunteer, and we're gonna go clean up the golf course, or we're gonna go clean up the nature trails. And we did that, to show our support and our love for the military. And then, the more friends I made in the Marine Corps, the they just rubbed off on me, and so that just led to me, like, really supporting them even more, because now, I have friends who, I have a deeper understanding of what they do and what they go through. And you know it's a lot. It's a lot. And so, I'm just glad that I met a lot of people, and became friends with a lot of people all over this world now. And some of those relationships have been very formidable and still long lasting, and I'm very appreciative for that. So yeah, there you go.
Now we definitely appreciate your support, and I think that goes for hundreds of Marines across all places. But so the next thing I wanna ask you is, hey, what's the future looking like? Where do you see yourself moving forward? What are some big goals of yours? Um, yeah, what's Phil doing moving forward?
Uh, let's see. My future. Um, my goal. People ask me all the time, like, what is your goal for, like, stores, or how many you want to own or
Yeah, yeah.
something. I don't really have a goal per se. Um, but 30 would be nice. I know that would be a lot of work, but 30 would be nice. But 17, I'm content with that. That's good. That's good for me. So what the future entails, I have no idea. I just know that it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a very prosperous one. It's going to be a very, my future is looking bright, and it's going to continue to look brighter. And maybe settle down. You know, get a family. I don't know. I say that very loosely because I don't know. I
Yeah,
like I like to do a lot of traveling and everything. So but I don't know. I just know that it looks bright. And I know that I'm going to continue in the path that I'm going in now, and just hopefully build more and more and more. And um, I don't know, maybe later I could delve into some other, businesses. Who knows? Like, I'm not sure. I have some other goals and aspirations that you know I've jotted down, and maybe I'll get the leadway to say, what, hey, now I can venture out a little bit more and do this and own this, so who knows?
Beaufort County Chairman, Beaufort County Council. You
Yeah,
know,
no.
those things are always on the table. I think that area could use someone like you in those avenues.
Well, I
And then,
I don't know. I appreciate that, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something. Even though I have a degree in political science, I still wouldn't want to delve into that aspect, so to speak.
yeah, yeah.
Um, Maybe that'll change in the long run, but as far as now, I just want to remain in the background with that.
Hmm. Okay.
But who knows?
Yeah, it might change. But again, thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome.
Um,
Thank you so much.
South Carolina, Beaufort County. Hey, there's a lot of people that you're holding up on your shoulders, and we all appreciate it. Everything that you do, you're inspiring through your story. So, thanks for coming on the show,
Thank
and
you for having me.
I hope whoever sees this is inspired.
I hope so. I hope that I can inspire someone who sees this, no matter how much you have, no matter how little you may think you have. There's someone who's waiting on you, your gift, and whatever you can do to help people. It doesn't have to be monetary, but it can be just a smile, a phone call to say, hey, how are you? Just checking up on someone. It can just be giving back in some way, shape, or form, volunteering, just doing something. And like I said before, we may not be able to do this on a global standpoint, but start right within your own community. Start right within your own little neighborhood, and then it'll trickle down. Trust me, it will.
All right, appreciate it. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mark, for having me again.